Hello and welcome to another Tea Time with me, Amanda Prochaska. So I was on a webinar last week and there were some really good questions that I thought I would highlight over the next couple of videos. So one of the questions was all about how do I know where to start with AI? What does that look like? How do I identify good use cases? In what areas within procurement are we finding success in AI? So I thought I would start there for us today. So with that said, grab your favorite drink of choice. Let's kick back and have a good conversation today. All right. So where do I start when it comes to AI? How do you identify a great use case? And what's really being successfully deployed today within procurement? So, some of you, this might just be a refresher. Some of this might be new information. A lot of what we have to consider in AI is a little bit different than what we've been talking about with digital transformations for the last 15 or so years. So, let's start with how do I identify a great use case for an AI application within procurement? First of all, analyze your repetitive and data intensive processes. So, we have a lot of repetitive processes today in procurement. Some of you might remember when we were talking about RPA technology years ago. It's kind of the same deal. Like, where do we have kind of like these heartbeat type processes that don't change all that often? Those are great areas to start when it comes to your AI use cases. So we find a lot in like invoice processing or your P2P process, or even in contracting and sourcing. A lot of those processes are repetitive in nature. Now, there might be other applications where data intensive processes where you're looking at large data sets and bringing them all together to synthesize and analyze and make decisions off of. Those are also really great use cases. So, and I'll talk about this a little bit later on. When you have a lot of data in your contracts, or you have a lot of historical data in your sourcing, or you need to go out and you analyze the market and the trends and understand the price points, all of that is very data intensive. So there's a great way to look at it, both from a repetitive nature, but then also like where are our processes that we require quite a bit of data to move forward with. So I'll give you an example. One of the partners that we have at Wonder Services, they were showing me how they created a agent to pull together a QBR. Now, QBRs, not so repetitive in reality. I mean, if we're talking honestly, I don't know how many QBRs actually happen. We plan a lot of them, we try, but we seem to run out of time all the time. But they are data intensive. So if you want to do an effective QBR, what do you need? You need to have their performance data. You need to have performance feedback. You need to have understanding of their company strategy and their market position and where the market is going. All of that information and more, probably, all of that information needs to be gathered to have an effective QBR. So why not apply AI? So that's where I would start. Repetitive processes and data intensive processes make a really good place to start. Then, if you want to get, and you know me, I am huge on change management, change adoption. Great idea to conduct stakeholder workshops, which is advice number 2. So if you can go to your stakeholders and be like, okay, like what's painful today? What could we speed up? What could help you achieve your strategies moving forward? Bring them all together. Ooh, finance teams that are supporting procurement, believe me, they could use some AI support. I mean, talk about data intensive, right? So pull together your key stakeholders and ask them, like, are there pain points today? Are there great ways to reduce cycle times? Is there something that where we could put an agent on that's repetitive in nature that you don't want to be doing anymore when it comes to working with us? Another great question or stakeholder to bring in is your suppliers. Your suppliers see it all the time. Like now that I'm a supplier supporting procurement, I can see it. Like you can see all of these opportunities in working with your procurement departments or working with your clients. So ask your suppliers. You would be shocked to see what they come back with, and there might be some really great starting points for your AI use cases. All right, the next one is benchmark industry best practices. There's not a lot out there right now, so I always like to see who's doing what though, and we'll talk about that in kind of part two of this video. Where are we seeing successes today? So get educated on that. Like talk to your peers. Fall conference season is kicking off right now. So great opportunity if you get to go to some conferences to talk to other people about what are they seeing, what's been successful, what are the real life applications that are occurring. Okay, number 4. Ooh, leverage your data audits and analytics. Okay, so nothing is more painful than getting a red audit flag, right? Uh, do you have any of those that are going on right now? Do you have controls that are not shored up? Do you have gaps in processes? Do you have other things that are being flagged in your audit? Maybe that would be a good place to start with your AI use case too. A lot of those controls can be automated further or maybe even analyzed at the end of the day so you can make sure that you're doing the right thing. I'll give you an example with one of our clients right now. We're helping them with some buy desk applications. We're doing their buy desk for them. And right now there's some approval processes that are manual in nature. Now they have um, their own well, they have their reasons for not automating it. We'll just say it that way, and they're completely valid. So that's not the point of my story. My story is that approvals are very interesting when it comes to audit flags. Sometimes you can automate approvals, sometimes you can't, but maybe you're going to be able to with AI. So that would be an area, control area that you might get flagged on. Like you have some nuance, some one-off processes where you need approvals, but maybe they're not fully automated. That would be a great application to start with your AI. Now, as always, and we're seeing a lot of this in the market right now, start small. Uh, Sometimes we'll see over ambitious, I'm getting hot in the sun here, some over ambitious leaders, and they want to do like everything right out of the gate. The best thing for not only to test the theories that you have to train the AI that you're installing, but also for change management, change adoption purposes, I would try to stay small. Get some small wins, know how you're measuring that win, and then go on and conquer later on. So if you're doing a workshop, if you're analyzing where you have repetitive processes, you're going to have quite a few that are going to show up as possibilities. Start with something that's simple, that's small, where you can get the win and then build upon it. You'll have a roadmap for a while if you do this correctly. Okay, so I hinted at earlier on in the video that I was going to cover where is AI being successfully deployed in procurement today. So there are several areas. Now, I will say successful, quote unquote, where people are doing pilot programs today, where people have exited pilot programs and now they're in stable use of these solutions. These are the areas where that is happening. There's a lot of chatter out there. There's a lot going on, but these 5 areas are where we're having success. So first of all, spend analytics and forecasting. This is, I would say, the number one go-to. So if you're a leader and you're like, I need to get AI deployed, we have budget for this, or we have budget for next year that's set aside, where do I start? You can do everything that I just told you, but the number one area that people are finding AI use cases for is spend analytics and forecasting. So might be a really great place to start. The second one is supplier risk management. And the reason being for that is there's just a ton of information, right? Like you're not going to be able to manage all the risk that you have in your supply base, but applying AI can help you synthesize that data so you can focus on what's really important for you to manage. Okay. Contract, if I can talk, contract management and compliance. The compliance piece is the interesting part of this. So, contract management, and we've been trying to do for a very long time, it's been very painful. Not a lot of people have seen extreme value from contract management. The interesting thing about where we're going with AI is that you don't have to store metadata anymore. You can maybe give it a name for the contract, but AI is going to be able to read that it is an MSA versus an SOW. It's going to be able to pull out your key terms that you want to identify in those documents. Now, let me hold that point. I'm going to go to the compliance real quick. So now that you have all of that data out of it, you can, quote unquote, although I've not personally seen a lot of success in this area right now, but a lot of people are working on it, is can you take that data from your contract and compare it to your invoicing? Like, am I actually getting billed the right bill pricing? Are they hitting their SLAs? What is going on against the actual execution of that contract and the performance against it? So contract management, though, and the compliance, I think people are starting to go down that path. But what I'm hearing is that it does take a lot more training than people are expecting. In fact, we're working on a couple of projects right now where there was data collected through like all of the contracts were being migrated, and there was an AI scan of these documents, and they pulled out, I would say, 40-ish% of the data that we were looking for, and the rest of it still had to be reviewed and updated. So, but that was the first try, right? We then treat it or train it and train it again and train it again, and it will get better, but it's not something that is going to work perfectly right out of the gate, at least from my experience. I've already mentioned this invoice and payment automation. Oh my goodness. Like if I were a leader doing this right now, I would do spend analytics and I would do invoicing. And the reason why is because in the past, we've had all kinds of work that we had to do to onboard suppliers into whatever portal you were using. And frankly, from a supplier, speaking as a supplier now, it's painful. Like we have to go into all these different portals as a supplier and take an invoice that we've already created in our system and re-put it into another system. It's just not efficient. Um, and that's why adoption rates have been low. It takes a lot of resourcing to get up and running, a lot of strict policies if you want to go that way. With AI technology coming into the invoice and payment automation space, the suppliers can basically send it however the heck they want to send the invoice, pigeon, PDF, whatever it might be. And the technology takes that the image, the PDF, and scans it and pulls in all the information. Now, again, not perfect right out of the gate. You have to train it, but it's definitely better than technologies of like 5 years ago, where all of the invoices had to be templated. So you had to tell the technology where exactly the PO number might show up. And so you had to template all of the invoices or the types of invoices that were coming in, which was also painful. This new AI technology does not require that. It will just read and intelligently pick up that information. So it is I mean, organizations are seeing up to 80% faster processing time using these technologies. Okay. Really, really great place to start. The fifth one is sourcing and supplier selection. We're seeing some really good technology, like there's some really great technology around negotiations, like negotiation bots, and they understand just by how someone's texting back or responding back how to reply. There's really powerful capability out there. There's also capability coming out that's helping do sourcing engagements for like tail spend that's almost fully automated. Think like an agent type of an application there. So sourcing is a great opportunity to automate a lot of the hardcore RFP process that, like back in the day, I would create a COE around. So not everyone needed to know how to do it. That's where the agents are coming in. So I think there's going to be a lot of efficiency there. I mean, in procurement, if we can increase or decrease, I should say, the cycle time of our events, then we're going to be able to get a lot more through the pipeline with the current resources that we have. So companies are seeing like a 10 to 20% improvement or efficiency of their cycle times by using the AI powered solutions. So spend analytics, supplier risk management, contract management, invoice and automation, and sourcing and supplier selection. Now, you might also ask, well, who's doing a great job at this out there? I have a couple of different things. Now, I told you I would start with spend analytics forecasting and then probably invoice and payment automation. One of the players that has been doing AI for a long time in the invoice and payment automation is Medius. They're coming out of Europe, um, not as well known here in the United States, but I talked about the training aspect of their system, so they know where to pick up information. Medius has been training their product for a very long time. And what's interesting about what they do, and I was just at one of their user conferences a couple of months ago, their customers are happy and they're getting so much value from Medius in general, but also their AI capability. So if you're saying, okay, well, maybe I'll start with invoice and payment automation, Medius is probably a solution that you should be looking at. They're fantastic. All right. With that said, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it useful. We're sorting through a lot right now when it comes to AI applications, AI pilot programs. So I'll be bringing you a lot more on this front. It's super intriguing to me. And if we can learn from each other, we can move much more effectively in the future. So with that said, cheers to you, and I'll see you next time.